welcome back. I believe you'll be able to look through the intro video we have about on this course. If you haven't done that, I'll leave the link of that video in the description of this video. You just click on it right here and watch that video right away. If you have done that, then welcome. We have to continue learning, and what we are starting with is Git. What is Git exactly? Git, it's a popular version control system. And what do we mean by that? By version control, we mean that Git have the ability or is able to manage changes to your document, computer programs, large websites, and other collections of informations. And with it also, you can review and as well restore earlier versions of your code. You can move, you can copy files, you can edit files, you can modify files, and as well you can upload files to your remote directories. With Git, actually, you can do so much on GitHub. Then Git was originally developed by Linus Torvald in 2005. Okay, by the way, Linus Torvald is the same person that developed the Linus terminal. And Git is a flexible environment. It's an environment for creating and managing remote repositories. Like I've said earlier, remote repositories, there are a number of them. We have GitHub, we have Bitbucket, we have Azure DevOps, you have SourceForge, but we are using Git for this trend because Git is the most popular and it has been around for a while. So that is a lot. These are others, a lot that you can actually do with Git. All right, let me say this right now, that you don't actually need GitHub to use Git, but with Git you can do a lot on GitHub. I believe that makes that makes sense to you. All right, so downloading and installing Git on your system. Okay, I'll talk about two users. We have Windows users as well as Mac users. For Windows users, you could go to https:/gitscm.com /download/Windows. Then for Mac users, you can go to the same website, but you look for Mac /download/Mac. Okay, for you to download and install Git on your system. If I have a full tutorial on how you download and install Git on your system. I'll link it up in the description to this video. You can actually go through that tutorial and it's going to show you how you download Git. Then once you have that, you can actually come back. Then you can come back once you have that, and if you downloaded that, is going to look like this. It's going to look like this. Something you after you've downloaded, you can come back here, check the version of Git you have by doing git -- version. If I hit enter, it's going to give you this. All right, it's going to give you this. So again, you could search for PowerShell on your system. Go to the search bar, search for PowerShell. It's going to bring you here. Again, you can do the same thing here. Git -- version. You see, it's showing me the same thing. That means Git have been appropriately installed in this system. Well, then again, since we are using VS Code for this course, I'm going to do the same thing here. By the way, if you're asking how did I come to this, what we have here, multi-page website, is just a project I opened inside VS Code. You can do the same once you open your VS Code. Again, if you don't know how to download and install VS Code on your system, I have a video on that. I'll link it up here too. You can just click on it there and watch how to download and install VS Code. So if you want to open this, this is just the name of this project which I opened up on VS Code. You could open yours, go to File, open folder. If you already have a project or a folder, you name that. You open the folder, you click open folder, it's going to take you to you open a folder from there. So if you want to open the terminal here, you go to terminal here. At the top, you click here, you click on new terminal. So it's going to bring up this terminal. So VS Code has a terminal, has a built-in terminal that you can use. So, and it supports Git. That is why you are using it for this training. It supports Git. So if I come here and again I do Git dash that version, it's going to give me that same version name. I believe you can see this. Okay, let me. Okay. So if I do git dash version, it's going to give me that version name. And if let's use other command. If I list files and directory ls, it's going to give me the files I have here. I know you can't wait to work on Git via VS Code, but let's just do some introduction before we get back to working on this. But basically with this, you should, once you have Git installed, you should be able to check that and know, okay, the version of Git you're using, and you are set to, you know, keep doing other things here. So like we said, you can do that. Then after you've installed, then it's time we look at some terms we'll be using in this course. You come across some terms. So before we get there, I want you to really have an idea about what we are talking about when we talk about such terms and terminologies. So one of them is CLI. So which is command line interface. It's actually the text-based interface. It's a text-based interface used to interact with computer programs or operating system by entry commands. The variation to this would be GUI, which is the graphical user interface. It's that one is a pictorial representation rather than text. That's what you have on GitHub and other remote web-based service. You use pictures, but we are going to be using the CLI in this course so that you get used to the commands and how to use them. Then we have code editors, which is just a processor for writing code. There are a number of them. First on the list is VS Code, like we are using for this training. Then we have others such as Sublime Text, Notepad++. Then we have VIVim and the rest of them. So Visual Studio Code is just a word processor for writing code. Then we have VS Code, like I said earlier, it's one of the code editors and we are using for this training. We have directory. A directory is simply a folder that hosts files. Okay, a folder that hosts files. If you have a GitHub, you could have your local, you could have your directory, your local machine, and if you push them to GitHub, you can have a copy of same directory inside the repository on your GitHub. Don't worry, don't bother by my terms. I'll get to explain many of this later. Then we have GitHub, which is a website to host your repositories online. Like I've been saying earlier, that such service is not only given by GitHub. You have so many others, GitLab, SourceForge, and the rest of them, but GitHub is what we are using. Why my love for GitHub? It's popular, it has been here for a while. Then you have repository. Repository is simply okay, it's a folder, a place where your project are kept. That could be true, but repository, I want you to see the difference between repository and directory. If the directory is actually a room in the building, see repository as the entire house. So repository is houses the directory. It's more like a larger stuff that houses where you put in your directory. So that is, I believe that is explanatory. Then you have CD, which stands for change directory. Will be using a lot of that in this course. CD to change directory. Then commit. these specific versions of your repository which consist of changes you make to one or more files. You're going to explain it better in when we get to the Git commands. So, but just know that you have specific commits. If you add a file, then you commit with a message. Each commit have a hash code, a particular hash code that you can use. You can revisit this, you can modify it, you can go back in time. You could have a history of commits you've done so far on your project. Then you have a Linux, which is a program of the Linux operating system that runs on the command line interface. So Linux is a program of the Linux OS that you use that runs on the command line interface. Then you have ignored files you don't want Git to bother about. You don't want Git to track, you don't want Git to take note of. These files are called what? Ignore files. So again, there's something very important I want you to take note of before we actually get doing all of this. That is Git commands. There are a lot of Git commands that are out there, but I just brought up these few ones at least. Maybe we're going to use more in the course, but for these few ones, please take note of them. And if I'm using any other one, I'll try my best to explain it as we go further in the course. The first one is git add. Git add is one of the commands you're going to come across every now and then as a programmer or your developer. It's one of the commands you're going to use often. There are three of them actually, like a trial: git add, git commit, git push. But for git add, it's used to track files and changes in Git. So if you use the git add command on the terminal, you are telling Git, this particular file, I want you to help me track it. Take note of this file. I'm giving you this file. All right. If there's a changes to this file, let me know. Track this file. Okay, which is different from on track. So once you add a file, you are telling Git to help you track such a file. Then you have git commit, which says your files in Git. So if you are tracking, necessarily that does not save such. It doesn't save. It's just a way of telling Git to track such a file. But you can do more by actually moving that file to the staging area. All right, we have a working directory. I will explain all of this later. You have the working directory, which is your environment, your terminal where you are working. Then you have the staging area. Files in the working directory are just there temporarily. Okay, then for you to actually save such a file, you need to commit them, and by committing, you are moving such file to the staging area. And the command for you to stage a file is git commit. Then you have git push. So once if you commit those files, then they are saved on your local machine. You actually need to upload such a file to your remote repository if you want to share with others, or you want others to be able to look at it. They don't all have to come and visit you in your house and look through your machine to see those files. For them to see them, you have to upload such a file to the remote, and one of such is GitHub. There are others like I mentioned earlier, so you need to push those files to the remote repository. So you use the command git push to do that. Then git clone. It's for git clone. If you've hosted a repository or your local on the remote, you pushed it to GitHub. All right, not just GitHub, other web-based service that help you do that. Then something happened to your machine, your computer, you lost that project. You can actually download a copy of that project from the remote into your local machine. So the command that help you do that is git clone. Okay, it's git clone. Then we have mkdir, which stands for make directory. You want to create a directory and start working on it on your local machine. You use the mkdir command. You see the difference between that and a directory and repo. Okay, I've explained that earlier. Then you have the ROMDR, which stands for remove or delete a directory. Remove or delete a directory. You use ROMDR to delete an empty directory without content. If you have not added a file to your directory, then use this command to remove or delete that directory. You have another version of that same command, which is rom-r. You use it to remove or delete a directory recursively, and a directory that has files inside, that is not empty, a non-empty directory, you use rom-dir to remove. Then you have branch. A branch is actually the version of the repository that diverges from the main working project. That is a branch. Okay, maybe I was supposed to do git branch here, but the command is git branch. You could do git. You could create a branch with you could check your branch by using git branch. You know the branch you have. The main or master branch, which is the default branch you use. Main or master branch is the default branch. Then you could create your own tailor-made branch by using git checkout -b, the branch name, or git switch -c and the branch name. Then you have ls. ls is to list files and directories. I believe I used this command earlier in this video. It helps you actually list the files and directories you have. Then you have touch, which helps you create an empty file. Touch file name, it will create an empty file. Okay, then you have pwd, print working directory. It's actually printing the current directory you are in, the present directory you are working on. The list is not exhaustive. You have git reset, a command to fix uncommitted mistakes in files in the staging area. I talked about staging area just now. I talked about tracked files and untracked files. Just know that a file that you have moved to, a file you want Git to track by using the git add, okay, by using the git add, it's in the tracking area, and such a file, before you commit it, you can use the git reset command to fix errors in such a file. The list is not endless. There are so many commands, so many git commands. What could help you is that the more you work on this command, the more you get used to them. You might not have to memorize the commands. As you work on them, some might actually stick with you, but the more you work on the terminal, the more you practice, the more you get used to all of these commands. Basically, that is how it works. So okay, let's just look at a concept: git configuration levels. Git configuration levels. Basically, in Git, there are 3 configuration levels. One of them is system level. You use the command to do this. Git config that system. It's basically, let's say, the first level now. Okay, for configuration. All right, the system level. Then you have the global level. All right, the global configuration. So apart from system level, you could have global configuration for your file. Actually, the global configuration, they are configurations that are available for the current user for all projects. That's the global configuration. While the system configuration are configuration available for every user in the system. Every user of that system, such a configuration is available to them. While for global, it is a user using that system at that point in time, that the global configuration is available to such a user. Then lastly, you have the local level. For the local level, you use the command git config dash dash local, and for this configuration, it's available or user for the current repository only. Only the current repository. You could use the command git config dash dash local. So I believe that I'll be able to, this make a little sense to you. We'll have to revisit this concept later, especially when we are talking about the global configuration. So for global configuration, like I said, it is available for the current user for all projects. All right, that is what the global configuration does. So the command is git config dash dash global, and you have these two important commands that you will always use at every point in time while you are doing global configuration. Git config dash dash global user dot name, you put in your name there. Then git config dash dash global user dot email, you insert your email there. Before this video comes to an end, I want to demonstrate that. Let's come back here. Okay, so we're using VS Code. I can also do that on git bash. So all right, we are back to the terminal. Okay, let's just so let me clear out this. Okay, I think I have a lot of things on. I believe you can see this. All right, here we are going to be using the global configurations. Okay, we're going to be using the global configuration that I told you about earlier. All right, that is what we are going to be doing now. Okay, I think let me close out some of these. Okay, all right, so I explained the Git configuration, the global configuration, like I was saying just now. So you could add your, what this does actually is that you are telling Git, this is my identity. I am the person working on this project. All right. So we said the global configuration are available for the current user. So what you need to supply, your name to Git, not your family name. Actually, you are using your name, the name you use on GitHub. All right. Then you need to put in your GitHub email address. Okay, because that is where you want to push your files to. All right, so how do you do that? You use git config dash dash global, git config dash dash global, then you do user dot name. Then what you do here, you put in your GitHub name. You could say web with Joe or whatever. I already have my configured. I'll show you later on. Okay, if this is your GitHub name, you could put that. Once you are done, you hit enter. I just remove this because I have mine. Then you go back again and do git config dash dash global user dot email. email, then you put in your email address, web with Joe at gmail.com. If I hit enter, it's going to tell Git, this is me, this is my name, and this is my email address, this is my GitHub name. I want you to push my file. This is my identity. If another user comes back and change that, then that user will have the identity stored on the system. That is one thing I need you to understand. So after you've done this, okay, after you've done this, you've configured your information, you put everything there, then you could go ahead and check it. By using git config dash list. So if you do this, it's going to show you, it's going to list out all the configurations you have there for you. So I'll just then go ahead and hit enter. If I do that, it's going to list out a series of configurations I have. All right, all of them, though not all of them you have to pay attention to. I'll tell you what we are looking out for. All right, that does not mean that what we are seeing now, all of them important. They're important configurations, but you know, by and by you get to know about what is what and what does what. I think I need to close out some of this. Okay, so as you can see, it has shown us the configurations we have on this system. Okay, a lot of this we will look at maybe by and by as time goes on, but I want you to take note of something. This is the editor, the code editor. This is the configuration for that. You see VS Code bin code dash wait. Then you can see this is the identity of the user email and address, user name and address, and yeah, that is where I want you to pay attention to. So if you put in your configuration, it's going to, once you do git config dash list, after you've configured those information, your identity is going to show you all of this, right? It's going to show you all of this. So if in Git also you could do same here. All right, it's going to show you that too. So then git config dash list. Okay, so it's going to give you the same going to give you the configurations as well. So you could see all of that, all the configurations. So yeah, this is it.